fellow disruptors, and welcome back to another empowering episode of Mindset Mastery Moments, the show dedicated to helping you disrupt limiting beliefs and unlock your highest potential. Today, we are diving deep into one of the biggest hurdles for aspiring coaches and entrepreneurs that face self-sabotage. I am super excited. You see, we have another beautiful guest waving from beautiful Canada, and she is none other than Miss Candy Motzek. I want to make sure I say her name correct. Yes. Candy, welcome to Mindset Mastery Moments. We're so happy to have you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
I am too. Let me tell you guys a little bit about Candy. Here's the thing. This episode is exciting to me because I would say she is the first of her kind, a coach's coach, and of course, she is I would say, a fellow disruptor. And so we're going to nestle in her expertise on the subject matter of what keeps some of us paralyzed under pressure, leaving our jobs, going into this space of coaching and walking in our purpose and what we really like to do. But let me tell you a little bit about Candy. Candy is a business coach. She is a fellow podcast host of a phenomenal podcast that I listen to as well as much as I can. She is also, she says she is a recovering corporate executive engineer, and she brings a unique blend of practicality, mindset mastery to her coaching practice, helping high achievers launch and scale authentic, profitable coaching businesses. Through her acclaimed podcast, She Coaches Coaches, which is so cool and jazzy, and her coaching programs, Candy empowers clients worldwide, guiding them past self-doubt into clarity, confidence, and sustainable success. Her calming yet approach, and I'll tell you, when I was listening to her podcast, she's going to give it to you straight, but in such a gentle way. She has a direct approach, but is very calm. And she helps countless coaches move beyond playing small to step confidently into their full potential. Candy, once again, we're excited to have you and learn from you today on Mindset Mastery Moments, where tell us who you are and what you do and why you do it.
Yeah, thank you so much. What a wonderful introduction. It's funny, when you hear yourself introduced, I'm sort of looking over my shoulder thinking, who is she speaking about, right?
I know.
Just to start a little bit is, I'm sure like many of your listeners, I had a great job and everything looked so wonderful on the outside. I had the title, I had the money, I had the benefits, I had all that stuff. And then I started those Sunday scaries, every Sunday I started to cry. And it's not like, it's a terrible thing to have what looks like a good life on the outside and then on the inside just to feel so hollow. And so that was that was really the start of my journey to becoming a coach. It took a long time. And, some of your listeners as well, you may have this golden handcuffs. You've spent the time, you've built the credentials, you've climbed the ladder, you've done the degrees, and your family and friends might be quite proud of where you've gotten to. And now you're in this, but I want to do something different. And so these golden handcuffs are really something common that I've seen with coaches. Is that something that you've seen as well?
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny, I meet so many budding coaches who want to jump in, but they're completely scared of the change. And sometimes it's they don't realize that a coach is what they want to be, but they just want to help people, they would say. But they have this prestigious job or just something that everyone just thinks they're really great at. And for all intents and purposes, like you said, all the money, but they just they're not confident enough in the shift because they're like, well, what am I going to really make? What do people think about me? There's all this fear and doubt. I call it the whole wheel and deal. I love that you call it the golden handcuff, but that is the cutest thing I've ever heard it called before. So tell me, can you break down what some of those little self-sabotaging things that we generally do that hinders us from becoming and owning our own success.
Yeah. So there's a huge mindset shift between being a really strong employee and an entrepreneur. So there's a lot of self-sabotaging that happens within there. First, we worry about what other people will think about us, and we forget that it's really important that we think well of ourselves. We also step into imposter syndrome because we may be skilled in that area, but now to become this new version of ourselves, like who are we to go through a transformation and to try something that's more authentic for us? Self-doubt is a big one, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, what will happen? That self-doubt, but from the place of a lack of faith, like not sure if it's really going to work for us or not.
Right.
And so those are three that I really hear a lot. And there's this place of becoming the new identity, right?
Yes.
And that is such an important mindset shift to become that new person who steps into, I call it you 2.0, the new version of yourself.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
I love that. That is absolutely true. All the self-doubt. I remember going through that and it was like, well, I'm only going to start coaching part-time, which became a big struggle for me because balancing the two, I was not able to scale because I wanted to hold the safety of my corporate position and still do something I really love. And I remember coming on the word where I called, people call it a side hustle, but I was like, my true dream and my true purpose of coaching and speaking and just delivering, breakthrough for people so they go from stuck to being, unstoppable was kind of like, so what I did, Candy, was I switched corporate positions to get into a full-time role where I could be coaching and training, right? That would be my job, but I was still had a, salaried position. I answered to, a corporation, all that stuff. And still it wasn't enough because someone else was controlling how and the quality of my work with the clients when I know they needed more, or sometimes they needed different, or sometimes they needed less. I couldn't adjust it because it was a one size fit all prescription that I was still controlled to write. What would you say to someone who is on that fence of what do I do? Do I do part-time? How do you advise them to make that transition based on what you know and what you've experienced and done in your own journey?
Right. So I think that there is no one answer. I love the approach that you took, that you found another way that worked for you as you moved it through the transformation and through that transition. So definitely there's no one answer that's right for everyone. However, we always want to take care of ourselves. We want to take care of our safety and our security, of our families, of our responsibilities that we have. Many, like in those days, my children were still in high school. And so, I needed to be able to send them to university, right? Like these were important things.
Yes.
So no matter what, if you even think about that you may want to leave your corporate job, then work yourself a really solid exit plan. And so I can just share what I did. Had the great job. I knew I wanted to leave, but I was still in that place of, I want to, but I'm kind of scared to.
Yeah.
So what did I do? I made sure that I paid off all my debts. I made sure that I had a large financial cushion. I had enough to live on for a year. I did that because I was fortunate enough to look at my salary and say, I don't actually need all that money.
Right.
So I was living on 50% of my salary. So I just put 50% away, paid myself first, and I allowed that nest egg to grow. And
Yes.
then once I knew that I would be safe, that our bills would be paid, the things that we needed, now I was in a powerful position to make a choice, right?
Yes.
So I love that approach,
Me
no
too.
matter what you do, because as women and as
Yes.
professional women, it is really good for us to take care of ourselves financially. And
It
so,
is.
no matter what, right?
No
So,
matter.
that's the way that I did it. And then I came to the point where I was ready to quit. And it took me a while to get the courage to do so,
Mm.
right? It wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. I wanted that freedom, but I was still sort of in the nest and, needed somebody to give me a push, right?
Yes. Yes. I love that. And because basically you are describing the journey and path I took as well. And most do, but here's the thing. Some people you like, I love your answer. It's different for everyone based on where you're at and what your circumstances. So that's I love the rule of thumb that we're walking away is with from Candy is take care of you and make sure that your responsibilities are kept. We're not advising you to go relentlessly, recklessly. Be relentless, but don't be reckless. Be
Very
relentless
good.
of
I
your
love that.
purpose and your goals, but don't be reckless. That's a whole
Yes.
other choice, right? So,
Yeah.
absolutely. One of the things that you teach that's so intriguing to me that I believe a lot of coaches or coaches that are budding coaches, let's say, have the challenges, and you emphasize this a lot, is that signature coaching program. Why do you believe this should be a coach's first priority, Candy?
Right. And so a signature coaching program is a solution for your dream client.
Mm,
So it's always preceded by who are the people that you really feel motivated to work with? The person that if you woke up in the morning and you go, oh, I get to work with them today. Like you would be
mm,
so thrilled to be in partnership with them. So you start with your dream client, and then what is that transformation that you want to help them get? Is there a
mm.
problem they want to overcome, or is there a goal that they want to reach? And that is the basis for your signature coaching program. So the reason for it is that the vast majority of the people have no idea what coaching is.
Right,
When we hear
exactly.
coaching, we think, I don't know what that is. Or if we've been in the corporate environment, we often will think that it's coaching for performance as a performance management tool, as opposed
Mm,
to a growth tool. So
mm.
people don't understand what coaching is, but they certainly understand their challenges and they want help overcoming the challenges. And that is the purpose of having a signature coaching
A
program.
signature coaching program. So if that's, for example, you're a coach's coach, and when I think of that, I think of you coaching coaches. But I'm guessing you have a signature coaching that you just don't work with every kind of coach. There are specific coaches that you serve.
Right.
How do you how did you come up with that? And like, where does it come from? Because obviously
Mm,
you're a coach, so you have a niche, never mind it's coaches.
right.
What is the journey you walk through? I mean, you just told us what a picture, but to get to that point, because I remember this was my biggest struggle because I was like, I want to help people. I want to help people find their purpose and, heal from all the things that would have hurt them, whether it was divorce or, abandonment issues or whatever. And then I want them to discover who they truly are, why they're here. And I really want them to just win in life. My coach is like, that's a good start. So if someone is thinking the way I did, how would you talk me through that so I can get to this? I know we can't do it all. We don't have enough time, but well, how would you guide me if I came in with something like that?
Yeah. So when you're a newer coach, remember that you're coming in with a lifetime of experience.
Yes.
And so look to the challenges you've overcome or the successes that you've had. And
Mm,
if they are challenges and they're, if they were painful when you were going through them, you have to be a little bit careful that you've healed enough from that challenge to be able to support somebody. So there's this saying that I heard that really stuck with me, and I really love it, is that, when it's a scar, now you're ready. But if it's still a wound, you're not ready yet. And so you want to look at your history. What skills do you have? What history do you have? What have you helped people with? And what have you helped yourself with? Now, that's your first place to look. And then you also want to look, where am I passionate? What is interesting to me? Is it one particular area? Is it that maybe you had a weight loss issue and you really struggled with it, and you have a real heart to help those people that want to come to a healthy weight? What is the struggle that really means something to you? So we've got this pair of history, we have passion, and you also need to make sure that somebody wants it. Right? So this program helps people overcome a challenge or reach a goal, but it has to be something they want, right?
Right.
Do people want to heal from abandonment issues? You bet they do. Do people want to have a promotion? Oh, definitely they want that. But sometimes it's too small and sometimes it's too big. It's kind of like the Goldilocks thing, right? Is it too cold or too hot? You need to find that in-between balance.
Absolutely. And that leads me to a question that I had burning, knowing that you were coming on today, because a lot of people, you hit the hammer on the nail head. A lot of coaches struggle. And I hear the frustration coming from, like, clients simply aren't buying my programs.
Right.
From your experience, why does this happen? And how can coaches just shift that dynamic effectively? Because you just said it, like, it could be wide, it could be too narrow. People just they don't want that right now. How do you help coaches really figure out that space, that funky space? I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there.
It is a funky space. So if you have a program and you think, oh my gosh, this is amazing, this is really going to help somebody, and then you're finding that people aren't buying, there's a couple of things. And there's always this blend, like the mindset is super important. To me, it's more than half of the equation.
Absolutely.
The other part of the equation is, are you actually inviting people to work with you? Invariably, this is what I see, is that we're not talking to enough people. We're not meeting enough people that are in that demographic that we love to work with. Yes. And we're not making enough invitations. We're kind of a best kept secret, right?
Wow. That is true. And so when we get stuck on, it's not just, and I love that you didn't just say niche, and I know you do talk about niching, but you said signature offer. What's the difference between, or are they the same? Do they go together, niche and signature offer? Just for a little bit of clarity.
Okay. So I think of it sort of like there's three components here. You have your dream client. That's your who. Your niche is your what. That's the problem you solve. And then the signature program is how you help them. That's your vehicle. How do you help them solve the problem? So I kind of think if it's like a car, the who, your dream client, is in the car. You're driving, they're the passenger sitting with you, and you're going to go from home to the grocery store. That little journey, that's your signature program. That's the thing that you're doing. So they want to go to the grocery store. That's their problem. And your who is along with you for the ride. And you want to make sure they get there safely and have some fun and grow and really become that person that they want to be.
I love that analogy. Right? Yeah, that makes it. Why didn't anyone tell me that when I was a younger coach?
I don't know.
I was like, I want to help women, and they're like, oh, good, you figured out a person, And then I'm
Yes,
like, okay, I want to help women in transition. And I'm like, but yeah, that's a lot of different women. We transition all the time. And then I go,
exactly.
well, I want to help women who are in executive roles and leadership roles who feel like they're living someone else's life and they're not fulfilled. And they just
Mm.
feel like quitting on everything. They want to learn how to tune into their own voice, uncover their true values, core beliefs, discover their purpose, and charter a life around that in their relationships, in their career, and just be the fullest expression of themselves and make money. So I came up with impact, influence, and income as a part. And I'm like, okay, so now I'm confused again because how do I
Oh,
say this to bring people to the table and want me to take, as you would say, how do I get them to want to come in the car with me? Because
right.
that seemed pretty clear, and it took me 2 months to clarify that.
No, but listen, you may never have been self-employed before. You went from, from square zero to a completed position. And if you had to do it again, you would do it in an instant. It wouldn't take you very long at all to rework it. But you were learning the skill, identifying something that you had no idea about, and then trying to make it work for yourself in a bit of a vacuum, right? Like until
Okay.
you've actually delivered to those executive women who want to have a life of purpose and want to have that spread throughout their life and to be living their highest purpose,
Yes.
you don't know the words. So you did well. And I think that is a really like it's a really common place that high achievers kind of sabotage themselves. Like you expected it to be fast. But if you
Right.
were learning how to, I'm trying to think of a good example. Let's stay with the learning how to drive. Okay.
Right.
If you wanted to be a race car driver and then you're turning around and saying to yourself, oh, I'm not a very good, it took me a long time to be a race car driver, but you had started without a driver's license. You didn't
Right.
know how to drive a standard. You didn't know how to use your turn signal or your windshield wipers.
Exactly.
So you took the right time. And I think lots of coaches, there is a time when we pressure ourselves to move
Mm-hmm.
faster. We're used to being high achievers. We're used to doing a great job. We're used to juggling a lot of balls and doing very well at it.
Yes.
And that does not serve us. And that is a mindset issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because every time we pressure ourselves, to me, when I experience pressure, what do? I get tight.
Yes.
I get into that fight, flight, or freeze response, which
Mm-hmm.
means my brain is not thinking very well and I'm not feeling very resilient and I'm being mean to myself. Well, none of that allows me to move to that next level,
Nope.
right?
That's stuck. That's
So
how we
you
get
did
stuck for
great.
real. Yeah.
You did great.
Thank you. I know it was, but that was me and my peers just working through it at the time. I didn't have a coach. And so why do you think it's so beneficial to have that coach? I mean, I can tell you why, but I want you to tell us because there's someone listening to us and they're like, well, it costs so much to get a coach and I haven't even got it started.
Mm.
But if you did get a coach, we in our camp, we say having a coach or a mentor is the only cheat code on
Yes.
the journey to greatness. Like there's no other shortcut that you will ever get than having someone who will be with you in the ringside when you get in. Every time you get in, you come back out, there they are. There's no other cheat code. But tell us how helpful that can be to have someone who's going to help guide you through that journey of becoming the coach that you want to be.
Yeah. And I think, having a coach is valuable for every transition. If you've got a listener who wants to take the next step in their relationship with their partner, or they want to take the next promotion, or they want to make some large change in their life, a coach is an invaluable investment. And so this idea of a coach being an investment with an ROI as
Right.
opposed to a cost is a
Come
big
on
thing.
now. Yes.
Right. And so when I think of a coach, first off, I have a cheerleader who believes in me, but doesn't let me make excuses. Right.
Come on. No excuses.
Right. So it's an unusual combination. You might have friends and family that really believe in you. And when you say, oh, I don't know, it's kind of hard, they'll say, you're right, it is. But your coach is going to say, hey, I believe in you. Let's go.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right? So we save money by hiring a coach because we move faster.
Yes.
So we save money, we save time, we speed up that journey, and we save energy. I cannot tell you the number of amazing coaches that I've met who have quit. And the energy of having a dream and not fulfilling that dream is heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking.
Yes.
And the energy that they have spent, and then they go on with their life with a dream unfulfilled. It is, it is a really sad thing. So hiring a coach is an investment.
Yes.
It's going to save you time, energy. It's going to make it more fun too. And it's going to make it faster. So
yes. Absolutely. It's that, again, the only cheat code you're going to have, because there's no shortcut and no road to success except having a coach or mentor who's already done it, excel in it, and just like you said, is your cheerleader and your accountability partner. And man, like they say, they put you on game.
Yeah.
They put you on game.
They just look at you and go, okay, so when are you going to do it?
Exactly. Here's a question I have for you before we go into flip the script. If there were 3 things that you could put our listeners and viewers on game with that you wish you knew before you went from corporate executive to entrepreneur and now the coach's coach, what would be those 3 things that you wish you knew?
Yeah, so real talk.
Real talk. Put us on game.
It's harder than you think it's going to be.
Ooh, yes.
And it's worth it. So that's 2. Third thing is allow yourself to want it. Like if you have that desire, it's put in you for a reason. It's given to you because it's meant to be. And allow yourself the privilege of owning your desire and creating it. It really is a privilege to be able to do this kind of work if you're called to it. So allow yourself to do it.
Allow yourself to do it. And I like to, I love that. I'm just enveloping that because a lot of us just don't give ourselves the permission to, number one, dream and then to pursue, because we don't want to stay in the dream state. Like Candy said, if it's been placed in you, it's for a reason. Take that and move. Just move. Once you start putting your steps forward, it'll all come to you and you'll evolve. I remember getting so restless. I'm like, when can I finally quit my corporate job so I can do this full time? I love this. And that's when I came up. I'm like, okay, why don't you? And I took a 10,000 or more pay cut. It's close to $13,000 to change what I was leading and managing to taking a role that allowed me to be trainer and coach. But I will say this, I call it a paid internship for doing what I most love, because that took care of my financial needs and it allowed me the space to become a better coach and seeing all of the magic that was in me already that people wanted. And I get to test my techniques and my content. And I was short. When I say short, I was less, about 13,000 a year, but it didn't matter. I was so fulfilled and I was still maintaining, like you said, taking care of myself and my home and what I needed to make me comfortable to make that transition. So we really want to encourage you guys. Now, thank you so much, Candy, for putting us on game. Let's go to one of my favorite parts, and I know a lot of our listeners and viewers love to hear the stories behind Flip the Script, where we love to ask the guests how they navigated moments by shifting their mindset. So could you share a specific time, Candy, when you had to flip the script in your own life, especially when you were transitioning from corporate executive to entrepreneur?
Yeah. So a perfect example is I do a lot of journaling, and you can see a few behind me here if somebody's watching the video. But I journal every single morning. And the thing that I learned is that better questions, when we ask ourselves better questions, we get much better answers. That was the first. The second is that my brain loves to put up this thought. The minute I start to think of anything new, something where I'm growing, something that I'm experimenting, it says, I don't know. I don't know how to do that. And now that I hear that, and I've identified that my brain will just give me those words, because it used to make me slow down. But now I'm like, oh, I don't know. That is not true. Right? It is just not true. And truthfully, in my journals, if you were to read through them, you'll see that I don't know happens so often. I have an acronym, IDK. As soon as I'm like IDK, and I'm like, oh, that's it. So it's like, it's a thought that's not helpful. So for people, when you are like watching your thoughts, find the fun in the thought. It's like, oh my gosh, there it goes again. I don't know. Oh, here you are again. Welcome. Come on in. I can't even call you by your real name. I only call you by your initials, right?
I love it. Oh my goodness. I love that. Oh my goodness. Yes. Laugh. I tell people I have a good time laughing at myself, because I read the book, The Seat of the Soul by Michael Singer. I don't know if you read that.
Oh, Michael Singer's Untethered Soul.
Untethered Soul.
Seat of the Soul is Gary Zukav, right?
Right. See? You're welcome to my world. I read them all. I get the lessons, and I keep moving. I am not going to tell you. I can't even tell you which scripture where in the Bible, but I know the scriptures, okay? But I remember him talking about the observer. And I'm like, yeah, my observer's, she loves to laugh at the rest of them, because she will find there's a critical observer that used to exist, and I don't know, I guess we shifted her and had a mindset shift, and now she just sits back and enjoys the show of what the rest of us are doing. And no, I don't have multiple personality disorder. I just enjoy the journey of becoming. That's what I've learned, because I used to be one uptight woman that was just overthinking things and not getting results. That kept me so stuck. And so now it's like you said, welcome to the conversation. I'm glad you came. What do you have to offer? Oh, we're not going to use that. You can go back and take a rest. Now we've listened. We honor your opinion, but we cannot use it because it wouldn't help us get to where we're going. And that's the mindset shift for me constantly, is letting the voices and the presence come up and be like, I hear you. Thank you for coming. But, we're going to put you back over here because you're not helpful. So
I love that. It really, and when you describe that to me, the thing that pops out in my mind is that you have created so much safety for yourself to hear that voice and to welcome it, which is why you can hear it so frequently and so easily. And it's like the voice is going to happen anyway.
Yes.
But for you to have done so much work to feel comfortable hearing the voice and not letting it stop you. It's a little scary at first, but when you think about that, so often, like I call that your inner critic.
Yes.
I've got many of them.
Yes.
But when you realize that your inner critic has one role, and it's to try and keep you safe.
Safe. Exactly.
Yeah. And so, what compassion you've shown yourself to be able to do that.
I love that description. That's compassion. And because we sometimes we run. I remember being a runner from the critic and said, you're trying to stop me from, being great. I was like, that's my mother's voice. That's my, my church's voice. And that's why I am so limited. And I got mad at the critic. But then I started to listen to the critic, and I validated what the expression was. And I would ask, why do you think that? Why do you feel that? Oh, because I remember when you were in fifth grade, this happened, and da 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 da. It will tell, I don't know, but we'll have this conversation like, well, you know what, honey, this is not that. Or sometimes that could be a similar thing that we could get trapped in. So what do? We make a plan now on how we can safely go into that space and not get trapped the way we did when we were in fifth grade or 10th, whatever that looks like for you. So it's that conversation of, what are you here for? And does what you have to offer me in this situation, in this circumstance, in this space of my life valuable? Or are you going to stop me in my tracks where you, like you said, freeze, flight, or fright? Or, what are you going to do? And based on what you're bringing, I get to choose if I use you or not. So that takes the pressure off. And now I can just, clearly make decisions because I'm not going ahead and she's going, the critic going, oh my God, you're not. No, we're taking care of her. And now we're getting in the car, as you would say. And we're riding, and we can have the window down and have the music and be free to go down the journey. Don't know all the details for sure, but we don't have to deal with the noise.
Yes. And you put the seatbelt on the inner critic and open the window, and she can talk out the window if she wants to.
She's probably going to be like, oh, you're going a little too fast with that. I'm like, I know, but you got your seatbelt on. You'll be fine. Let's go. And so you have to reassure her sometimes, but she'll be all right. She always like, remember you did this last time and you had fun. Just let's go with it.
I love that.
Oh my goodness. I know our listeners of yours are like, now they're crazy. No, you should try your version of it. All should try what we all, Candy shared hers. She has IDK and she's like, oh, here you are. You talk to yourself. You get to choose how. Yes. And like you said, we never get rid of the inner critic. We never get rid of the different stance that our voices takes. How we interact and how compassionately we let those voices have time and space is what will determine the progress we make. So don't get stuck with the voices. They're there to help you as well. Candy, what's your next big goal or milestone maybe? And what mindset shift or practice do you think would be most crucial for you achieving that?
So for me, my next stretch is I'm planning on doing a short run podcast where I will take volunteers and coach them. I will coach them live on the episode. We'll record it. And if it goes terribly, or if it gets really emotional, the guest who is being coached will get to choose whether to let it air or not. But it's kind of like being a trapeze artist without the rope. Like I coach all the time.
Yeah.
But then to do it and record it, that's a whole different thing. So that's going to be my next thing.
So when you came up with this, do you have any fears or
of course
kind of limiting?
It's going to be terrible. It's going to be terrible. I'm not, and I won't know what to say, and I won't know what to ask. And there's going to be this time where it's very, very quiet, and I'm going to be like, I don't know. Now, as a coach, when you're coaching, it always works out. Right? It's kind of like a dance. You can never know what's going to happen next, but you hit record and now the pressure is going to be on. So that's going to be my next thing. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's funny when I'm coaching, there are times I'm like, wait, I got to write that down.
Yeah.
I'm talking to my client. I was doing group coaching the other day, live in person. And I said, I give a 4-step thing that I never heard before. And a couple of them go, what was number 4? And I'm like, I don't know, guys. Aren't you guys supposed to be the ones taking notes? And y'all better, because I need that for later. It was just a funny moment. But like you said, it's a dance. And we have, as coaches, we have this wealth within us, and it just flows. And, hey, we're getting coached in those sessions too sometimes, learning from our clients, learning from where they're getting stuck. So that's going to be a firehouse. I haven't seen it done. People might have done it, but I haven't seen it done. It sounds like a reality show.
It's going to be something. I wanted to reflect something back to you here. Yeah. Your example of when you were group coaching and you said there's 4 steps and then you couldn't remember what they were. That is a wonderful example that you are living 100% on purpose. You're completely present with your people and you're in flow. It's just
thank you.
Right?
Thank you so much. That feels good, because that's the goal. It's funny because a lot of times we don't realize how much we have grown. And I appreciate that feedback and that observation, because I feel like that was always a goal, to be present more. I remember when I was, again, early as a coach, I thought all these, I don't know, I got down bought from this person and that person, questions coaches ask, good coaches ask great questions. And listen, guys, don't get me wrong. I'm not criticizing that you might want to look at those stat content and those tools. You do when you're starting off. But I was like, man, if I got to figure out memorizing these questions, I like the 10 from here, I like 5 from there, and da 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 da. And then I start making up my own little formula, and the moment I just be present with my client, listen to them, reflect with them, ask them where they want to go, and it's all of a sudden I became this really great coach that I was proud of, and I found more room to grow and be and desire. And so that particularly has been a vision of, you just want to be in a space where you're present, and the whatever is within you, or sometimes for me, I say, what's supposed to come through you? Because sometimes I hear things like those 4 steps that I never thought before. Now I'm a vessel, and that's the goal, is just be a conduit for my clients' healing and their greatness, just a conduit. And then when as a coach, that's what I think. As a person, I call myself a facilitator. Everything else is given to me as a title, but as a facilitator is why I'm here on earth.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so great.
Thank you for sharing that with us too. Oh my gosh. So you all here, we have to tune in. But before we connect with you and where we find you and all the wonderful things, we have a section that's called Mindset Fights to Go, Candy, where you get to share for about 90 seconds or whatever it takes you within that 3-minute realm. If it were your last words to the world, what would you say to us? I step away from the camera and the microphone, and it's just you and our listeners and viewers. You're giving us your words, and here we go.
Okay. So if these were my last words, what I would say is that you are a unique being who's been placed on this earth for a reason, for a purpose, and you don't need to work hard to figure that out. If you just listen to what's going on inside of you, there is a voice inside of you that will tell you what you need to hear. The you that wants to be created, the you that is so gifted and so powerful and so full of light, wants to come into this world. And so all you have to do is allow her and stop resisting.
Stop resisting. I love that. That ties back to where we started, where we're
right.
Like, yes, I love it. Actionable takeaways for you all, Candy. So I know some of the people in our community are like, okay, you've given me a good push. Where do we connect with you? And of course, we want to listen to your fabulous She Coaches podcast, and then be ready for when you bring out I call the reality series of coaching.
I love that.
Tell us, how do we connect with you?
So the easiest way to connect with me is through my podcast. I show up there every single week, sometimes more than once a week, and it's called She Coaches Coaches. You can find it on all the players. And if you're looking for a website, you can see my website at stepintosuccessnow.com. I've got lots of great resources on there for people, and just welcome you to come into my world and check it out.
Absolutely. And I know you have this download on your website that if you're listening and you're considering coaching, it's the niche guide. I think there's a quiz that you have that I'm curious, so I'm going to be taking that. And you all, I'm going to be hopping over to She Coaches Coaches. Who knows? I might let her just put me on the so I can be coached and my next level of scaling and really growing in my coaching world. Candy, thank you so much again for this inspiring conversation. All the links and everything for Candy is in the description wherever you're listening or watching to this. Candy, you've illuminated a path for so many of the coaches that I know are a part of our tribe here at Mindset Mastery Moments. So we are just so grateful to you for being here on Mindset Mastery Moments today. And we know that you're not far away. I'm pretty sure we're going to have you back down the road to tell us what's going on in your world and give us some more light.
Oh, thank you so much. It was so much fun. I loved our conversation.
I did too. And to our listeners, again, thank you for tuning in today. Remember, your mindset is your greatest asset, and mastery starts one moment at a time. Visit our website at mindsetmasterymoments.com. Share this episode with someone you know that will need the motivation and the courage to move forward in their dream of becoming a coach, or else just walking out the path. Same principles apply. And until next time, keep mastering the moments that matter most. I'm Dr. Alisa, and we'll see you soon. Bye.